Ethan, are you done throwing your tantrum? The voice that sliced through the haze was as cold as a scalpel, and it made my temples throb in protest. I forced my eyes open, a blinding crystal chandelier swaying above me, making the whole room spin. Standing over me was a woman. She was poured into a designer power suit that hugged every curve of her runway model figure. Her face was stunning, a perfect 10, but her eyes held nothing but ice-cold disgust. Sophia Lancaster, my fiancée. Then the memories hit me, a tidal wave of someone else's life crashing into my brain. My name is Ethan Hayes. I'm the sole heir to the Hayes Corporation, a multi-billion-dollar empire. Except, I've been dropped into the body of the biggest joke in some trashy web novel. I'm the ultimate simp, the rich side character who exists only to be humiliated. In the novel, this version of me was so obsessed with the Ice Queen CEO before me that he funneled his family's resources, connections, and money into her family's company, Lancaster Industries. And for what? To be crushed under the heel of the story's protagonist, some guy named Jack Ryder, when he made his grand return. The original Ethan ended up bankrupt and dead in a ditch. The me from the book was pathetically devoted to Sophia. If she so much as frowned, he'd lose sleep for a week. A single offhand comment from her was treated like a divine commandment. Just moments ago, the original Ethan had booked out this entire Michelin star rooftop restaurant, the Apex, to celebrate their engagement anniversary. He'd arranged for all her favorite dishes and $1 million piece of jewelry. Her response? She showed up 2 hours late, took one look at the glass of bourbon in his hand, and turned to leave in disgust. The poor sap grabbed her arm, begging her to stay. During the struggle, she accidentally shoved him. He hit his head on the corner of the marble table, died on the spot, and, well, I woke up in his place. A simp gets what a simp deserves, I guess. I looked at Sophia's face, a mask of, "You're not worthy," and a slow smile spread across my own. A fire ignited in my veins, a hot rush to my head that instantly cooled into pure, cynical amusement. I slowly pushed myself up from the floor, brushing non-existent dust from my Tom Ford suit. I walked past her, collapsed onto a velvet couch, and casually crossed one leg over the other. I glanced at an unopened bottle of vintage French red on the table, picked it up, and tossed it aside with a look of distaste. Then I went to the bar cart, found a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle, and took a long, hard pull straight from the neck. The burn of the bourbon seared my throat, but cleared the fog in my head like nothing else. Sophia's brow furrowed, the disgust in her eyes practically spilling over. "Ethan, what is wrong with you? Do you have any idea how pathetic you look right now?" Pathetic? I swirled the bourbon in the bottle, a short, sharp laugh escaping my lips. "Oh, I could do a lot more pathetic than this. Want to see?" My gaze must have unnerved her, because she actually flinched. She'd never seen this look in my eyes before. To her, I was always the loyal puppy, tail wagging, begging for a scrap of her affection. I savored the shock on her face. Then right in front of her, I slowly pulled a small velvet box from my pocket. I flipped it open. A massive, flawless pink diamond ring glittered under the lights, almost painfully bright. The heart of the ocean, a cool $3 million. The original Ethan had practically gone to war at an auction to get it for her. Sophia's eyes flickered, and for a split second, I saw it. A flash of pure, unadulterated greed. She thought I was about to get on one knee and beg her to put it on, just like all the other times. I smiled. The next second, with a flick of my wrist, the dazzling diamond ring sailed through the air in a perfect arc. It landed with a precise, sickening clatter in the stainless steel trash can in the corner. The sound seemed to echo in the silent restaurant, a dull thud that landed right on Sophia's heart. Her face went completely white. "You." She pointed a trembling finger at me, her whole body shaking with rage. "Ethan, you're insane. Do you know what that was?" "Of course I do." I leaned back into the couch, taking another swig of bourbon. It was trash. Watching her beautiful face twist in fury was the most satisfying feeling I'd had all day. This must be what it feels like to finally stand up to the woman you've been simping for 3 years. Damn, it felt good. "Sophia." I set the bottle down, my voice calm and cold, a tone she'd never heard from me before. "As of today, our engagement is off. Everything your family has taken from mine, I want it back. With interest." You have 3 days. Now you can get out. The restaurant was dead silent. Sophia stared at me as if she was seeing me for the first time. Her eyes were a cocktail of shock, rage, and a sliver of panic. She probably didn't even recognize herself. Ethan, what did you just say? Her voice was trembling. I said. I stood up and walked toward her, towering over her, repeating each word with deliberate force. Get the hell out. The smell of bourbon on my breath and the sheer pressure I was radiating made her take an involuntary step back. She finally realized I wasn't joking. Fine. Just fine. Sophia laughed, a brittle, furious sound. She'd never been humiliated like this in her life. Ethan Hayes, don't you dare regret this. I'm Sophia Lancaster with or without you. But without my family's support, what are you? She spat the words, grabbed her clutch, and stormed out, the sharp clicks of her heels on the marble floor a frantic, clumsy retreat. What am I? I watched her go, the smirk on my face growing wider. You'll find out soon enough what your family is without mine. The scent of her expensive perfume lingered in the air, a smell that once drove me wild but now just seemed cheap and suffocating. I pulled out my phone and dialed number. Arthur. A steady, respectful voice answered on the other end. Mr. Hayes, how may I help you? Arthur, the Hayes family's longtime butler and my father's most trusted advisor. He'd watched me grow up and was fiercely loyal. In the novel, he tried to warn the original Ethan about the Lancasters, but his advice fell on deaf ears. In the end, Arthur died protecting him from the protagonist, Jack Ryder. That wasn't going to happen this time. Arthur, my voice turned to ice. Contact legal and finance. Effective immediately. I want you to freeze all capital support and joint ventures with Lancaster Industries and all its subsidiaries. There was a stunned silence on the other end. Arthur couldn't believe what he was hearing. Sir, you mean everything? Everything, I said, my voice leaving no room for argument. From this moment on, not a single penny from any Hayes-owned entity flows to the Lancasters. Liquidate our positions on all ongoing projects as quickly as possible. I want them to be completely cut off within 72 hours. Arthur was quiet for a few seconds. Then, his voice came back, filled with a relief and excitement he could barely contain. Yes, Mr. Hayes, I'll get it done right away. He had been waiting for this day for a very long time. Hanging up, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. This was just the beginning. For years, the Lancasters had been parasites, sucking the Hayes Corporation dry. The original Ethan had showered Sophia with luxury cars, penthouses, and priceless gifts. The interest-free loans and prime investment opportunities he'd handed over to Lancaster Industries were astronomical. At least 70% of the Lancasters' current prestige was built on Hayes money. And I just turned off the tap. As I was thinking, my phone rang again. The caller ID read, Robert Lancaster, Sophia's father, the chairman of Lancaster Industries. A cunning old fox. I answered and put on speaker. Ethan, what is the meaning of this? His roar blasted through the phone. Why did you suddenly terminate all our contracts? What did Sophia do to you that you treat her and our family like this? His voice was dripping with entitlement and rage, as if I had committed some unforgivable sin. I let out a soft chuckle and took another sip of my drink. Mr. Lancaster, you sound stressed. You think this is funny? His voice cracked with fury. I'm telling you, Ethan, you restore those contracts right now, and then you go and apologize to Sophia. Otherwise, this engagement is... Oh, I cut him off. The engagement? I just made it crystal clear to your precious daughter that it's over. Didn't she tell you? Robert Lancaster choked on his words. All I could hear was his heavy, ragged breathing. You bastard. You dare to break off the engagement? How have we wronged you? We graced you with Sophia's hand. You were marrying up? Don't you understand? Marrying up? What a joke. The sarcasm in my voice was palpable. Mr. Lancaster, I think you should be more concerned with your company's stock price. Oh, and by the way, that $3 billion loan you took from East West Bank. Hayes Corp was the guarantor on that, wasn't it? What do you think happens if I pull our backing? You think the bank might just call on that loan? You wouldn't dare. For the first time, a note of real fear entered his voice. Watch me. I was done talking. I hung up the phone and blocked his number. The world was finally quiet. The next day, I slept in until the sun was high in the sky. It streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my penthouse, and as I stretched, I felt better than I had in years. The air just smelled sweeter when you weren't a simp. Arthur had breakfast waiting, a look of profound relief on his face. "It is good to see you have come to your senses, sir." I smiled. "Yeah, well, I had a moment of clarity. What's the situation with the Lancasters?" "Sir." Arthur handed me a tablet. "As soon as we pulled our funding, Lancaster Industries' stock plummeted the second the market opened. It hit the circuit breaker. Several of their key partners have already pulled out. I imagine Robert Lancaster is having a very bad morning." "Furthermore," Arthur added, "as per your instructions, all vehicles and properties registered in your name but used by Miss Lancaster have been repossessed. All of her secondary credit cards have been frozen." "Excellent work." I nodded, satisfied. To drain a swamp, you have to be thorough. Sophia was used to a life of limitless luxury. I couldn't wait to see how she'd handle falling from her ivory tower into the mud. I scrolled to my phone while I ate. A headline from a local business journal popped up. "Lancaster Industries hit by Black Swan event. Stock crashes amid rumors of financial collapse." The accompanying photo was of Robert Lancaster, his face pale and haggard, being swarmed by reporters outside his office building. The comment section was a feeding frenzy. "About time. Lancaster Industries is a second-rate company that acts like it's old money. Heard they pissed off the Hayes family and got cut loose. Serve them right. That daughter of theirs, Sophia, walks around with her nose in the air. Bet she'd cry now, lol." Reading the comments put me in a great mood. Just then, Arthur handed me another tablet. "Sir, this is a live feed from our security team at the Galleria on 5th. The screen showed the interior of a flagship designer boutique, and there she was, Sophia, with a few of her fake friends, shopping for handbags. It seemed the reality of her situation hadn't quite sunken yet. She still had that arrogant air about her, pointing at a new limited edition bag. "I'll take this one and that one. Wrap them up." The sales associate respectfully took her black Amex card. The show was about to begin. A few seconds later, the associate returned, looking apologetic. "I'm very sorry, Miss Lancaster, but your card has been declined." Sophia's smile froze on her face. "What did you say? That's impossible. Run it again." The associate tried a second time, then shook her head helplessly. "I'm sorry, Miss Lancaster. It's not going through." The other customers, including her so-called friends, started to stare. Sophia's face flushed a deep, humiliating red. "How can that be? Try this one." She pulled out another card, convinced it was a mistake. It was also declined. One after another, her entire collection of platinum and black cards failed. The looks on her friends' faces shifted from envy to mocking pity. "Sophia, what's going on?" One of them, a woman with way too much makeup, asked with fake concern. "I thought Ethan treated you like a princess. Can't even buy a purse now." "Yeah, did you two have a fight? Did he cut off your allowance?" Sophia's face cycled through shades of white and red. She looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. Putting on a brave face, she snapped at the sales associate. "What are you staring at? I just didn't bring the right cards today. I'll be back tomorrow." She grabbed her friends, ready to make a quick escape. But just then, a young man in a plain jacket and jeans, with intensely sharp eyes, stepped forward. He stopped the snickering sales associate. "Stop looking down on people. If the lady can't afford it, I'll buy it for her." The young man pulled a generic-looking bank card from his pocket and tossed it on the counter. "Bring me the most expensive bag you have in the store." Watching the security feed, I narrowed my eyes. There he was, Jack Ryder, the novel's chosen one, the protagonist. On the surface, he was just a regular guy, a veteran who had just returned home. In reality, he was the leader of the world's most elite mercenary organization, the Chimera, codenamed Reaper. He was a master of combat and a medical genius. According to the plot, he came back to the States to investigate the truth behind his family's downfall years ago and to honor an arranged marriage. And the target of his hero rescues a damsel in distress moment was none other than Sophia Lancaster, at her most vulnerable. Next up was the classic face-slapping scene. The store clerk would mock Jack for being poor, and then he'd flash his exclusive black card with a balance in the tens of billions, blowing everyone's minds. Sophia would be impressed. A spark would ignite between them, and Jack would begin his meteoric rise, conquering the city with Sophia at his side. And I, the ex-fiancé, would become the primary punching bag on his road to glory. Too bad for you, I muttered to the screen, a cold smile on my face. I'm writing the script now. Just as the novel described, the sales associate saw Jack's plain debit card and scoffed. Sir, we don't. This isn't a credit card. Perhaps you'd rather. Just swipe it. Jack's eyes flashed with menace. The associate, intimidated by his aura, reluctantly took the card to the machine. 1 second, 2 seconds. The machine stayed silent. The smirk on the associate's face grew. Sir, it seems there are insufficient funds in your account. What? Jack snatched the machine, his brow furrowed. Account balance, $0.00. The air in the store went still. You could see the blood drain from Jack's face, then rush back, turning it a deep shade of crimson. He stared at the screen in disbelief, his mind blank. Impossible. This is my personal account for the Chimera. It should have at least $10 billion in it. How can there be no money? Of course, he had no way of knowing that the moment he stepped foot back in the country, I had used the Hayes Corporation's global reach and a team of the world's best hackers to put a temporary security hold on all of the Chimera's hidden accounts worldwide. You want to be a big shot? Sorry, your money's no good here. Sophia's friend with the caked-on makeup was the first to break the silence. Ha ha ha, I thought we had a hero here, but he's just another broke loser. Trying to save the day when you don't even have a dollar to your name? That's hilarious. The laughter washed over Jack like a tidal wave of acid. His fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white. A murderous aura began to radiate from him. He was the Reaper, one of the most feared men on the planet. He had never suffered such public humiliation. His cold eyes swept over the laughing women, and he looked ready to snap. Just then, a series of sharp claps echoed through the store. Several men in black suits and sunglasses entered, clearing a path. Leading them was my head of security, a woman named Echo. She might have been a woman, but she was more dangerous than 10 men. She stopped directly in front of Jack, her face a blank mask. Sir, this is a Hayes Corporation property. Violence is not permitted. I suggest you leave before there are consequences. The Galleria on 5th was our property. Jack felt the subtle, dangerous energy coming off Echo, and his eyes narrowed. He could tell she was a pro, a serious threat. Who are you? He asked, his voice low. Echo didn't answer. She simply gestured toward the exit. Our employer has requested that we clear the building for a private event. All unauthorized personnel must leave immediately. Her gaze swept over Jack, Sophia, and her giggling friends, cold and dismissive. Jack's face was a thundercloud. He knew he was beaten. Today was a total loss. He shot Sophia a look that clearly said, "This isn't over," then pushed his way through the crowd of laughing onlookers and disappeared. As for Sophia, she looked from Jack's retreating back to Echo's emotionless face, her own expression ashen. She finally understood what I meant by consequences. This wasn't just about cutting off her allowance. This was about grinding her face into the dirt. Jack's grand rescue had ended in utter, abject humiliation. Sophia was politely but firmly escorted out of the Galleria. Watching her lost, dazed expression on the monitor, I felt not a shred of pity. She'd brought all of this on herself. I turned off the monitor and got down to business. If I was going to defy the novel's plot, I had to be thorough. Jack's return wasn't just about Sophia. He had another critical objective, an underground auction being held in 3 days at a private retreat called the Pinnacle Club. At that auction, he was supposed to acquire an ancient artifact, a meteorite shard that contained a strange energy which would greatly enhance his own power. At the same time, he would meet and subdue the king of New York's underworld, a man they called Tiger Moretti, making him his first major ally. The artifact and Tiger were the 2 pillars of his early success. There was no way I was going to let him get either of them. Arthur, sir, give me an invitation to the Pinnacle Club auction in 3 days. Of course, sir, Arthur replied without hesitation. Also, the file you requested on the meteorite shard has been sent to your secure email. I raised an eyebrow. Arthur's efficiency was always impressive. I opened the file. It contained photos, the artifact's supposed history, and an expert analysis that concluded it had a unique composition and may promote a sense of calm and well-being. Of course, they couldn't detect the energy radiating from it. But to me, the guy who had read the book, it was a priceless treasure. Jack, oh Jack, I murmured, I'll be holding on to your little power-up for you. 3 days flew by. In that time, the city's business world was in an uproar. Lancaster Industries' stock was in free fall, the company teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Creditors were lining up at their door, and Robert Lancaster was said to have aged 10 years overnight. He called me hundreds of times, sent dozens of pleading texts. I ignored them all. Sophia had lost her princess status entirely. Her cars were gone, her penthouses repossessed. Her designer wardrobe was liquidated as gifts that now had to be returned. Overnight, she went from heaven to hell. I heard she even came to my building and stood outside begging to see me, but I had security remove her. All of that was just the appetizer. Tonight was the main course. The Pinnacle Club was an ultra-exclusive resort nestled in the hills north of the city, with security tighter than a military base. To get in, you had to be someone. My Rolls-Royce Phantom glided up to the entrance. The valet saw the license plate and waved us through without even asking for the invitation. The auction hall was already buzzing with the city's elite. Nearly every major player in New York was here. My arrival caused a stir. Isn't that Ethan Hayes? What's he doing here? Heard he's the one who single-handedly wrecked the Lancasters. Damn, all for a woman. Wait, no, all for himself. That's cold-blooded. I ignored the whispers and made my way to the VIP section at the front. As soon as I sat down, a middle-aged man in a silk suit with a slicked-back haircut hurried over, a massive smile plastered on his face. Mr. Hayes, what an honor. Forgive me for not greeting you at the door. This was the event's host and the undisputed king of the city's criminal underworld, Tony Tiger Moretti. In the book, he's so impressed by Jack's alpha male energy that he immediately swears allegiance to him, becoming his most loyal dog. But right now, looking at me, his eyes held nothing but respect and a desire to please. In this city, nobody disrespected the Hayes family. I gave him a slight nod, and he took the hint, backing away. My eyes scanned the room, and I quickly found who I was looking for. In a corner, a young man in a plain jacket sat alone, his gaze sharp and intense, fixed right on me. It was Jack Ryder. He had obviously recognized me, too. His eyes were burning with hatred and resentment. I raised my glass to him in a mock toast, a provocative smile playing on my lips. Jack's hands balled into fists at his sides. The auction began. The first few lots were the usual fare: art, antiques, jewelry. The city's billionaires got into bidding wars, but I couldn't have been less interested. I was only here for one thing: the meteorite shard. Jack was the same. He sat in his corner like a coiled viper, ignoring the commotion. Finally, after a dozen items, the auctioneer's voice took on a dramatic tone. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for a truly unique item. This is an artifact of unknown origin. We've had countless experts examine it, but none can determine its age or composition. What we do know is that holding it brings a profound sense of peace and vitality. I present to you the Celestial Shard. A model in a sequin dress carried a velvet cushion to the stage. On it sat a palm-sized, jagged piece of dark rock, etched with strange, swirling patterns. It looked unimpressive, almost dull, but I could feel a faint energy pulsing from it. That was it. In the corner, Jack's eyes lit up with a feverish glow. His unique training allowed him to sense energy fields, and to him, this artifact was the Holy Grail. The Celestial Shard. Bidding will start at $100,000. Minimum bid increment is $10,000. Let the bidding commence. The auctioneer had barely finished speaking when Jack shot his paddle up. $110,000. He couldn't hide his eagerness. But before the auctioneer could even acknowledge his bid, a lazy voice from the front row cut through the room. $500,000. A gasp went through the crowd. Who would pay $500,000 for a weird-looking rock? All eyes turned to me. Jack stared daggers at me, his eyes practically shooting flames. He knew I was doing this on purpose. Ethan Hayes, he growled under his breath. I pretended not to hear him, leaning back casually and remarking to Echo, "The patterns on that rock are interesting. It would probably make a good chew toy for my husky Zeus." Someone in the crowd snorted. $500,000 for a dog's chew toy? The kid was out of his mind. Jack's face was as dark as a thundercloud. This was a deliberate, calculated insult. He took a deep breath and raised his paddle again. $600,000. He only had about $1 million to his name, seed money for his comeback. 1 million. I didn't even bother to raise my paddle. I just said the number. Jack froze. 1 million was his absolute limit. His eyes were bloodshot as he glared at me. The hatred so intense I could feel it across the room. He couldn't understand it. Why was this spoiled rich kid going out of his way to screw with him? First Sophia, now this. 1 million going once. 1 million going twice. The auctioneer was ecstatic. This was far more than he'd expected. A vein throbs in Jack's forehead. He was wrestling with himself. Should he reveal his identity? Pressure Tiger Moretti? No, it was too soon. While he was debating, the gavel fell. 1 million going 3 times. Sold. To Mr. Hayes. A smattering of polite applause filled the room. Most people were just looking at me like I was an idiot. I didn't care. Echo escorted me to the back to finalize the transaction. As I walked past Jack, holding the box with the artifact, I paused. I leaned in close, my voice a whisper only he could hear. The Great Reaper, leader of the Chimera, and this is all you've got? Pathetic. Feeling angry? Don't worry. This is just the beginning. Everything you have, everything you are, I'm going to take it all. I patted his rigid shoulder and walked away, leaving him frozen in place, his face a mask of shock, horror, and utter disbelief. Jack was completely stunned. His greatest secret, the identity that was the source of all his pride, had just been casually spoken aloud by this playboy. He felt like he'd been stripped naked and thrown into the street. All his plans and disguises rendered a complete joke. A bone-deep chill shot up his spine. Who is he? Jack's body began to tremble, not from anger, but from a fear he had never known. He thought Ethan Hayes was just a spoiled brat, a stepping stone on his path to greatness. He now realized he was dealing with something else entirely, a primordial beast hiding in plain sight. And he was just an ant that had foolishly tried to challenge it. I didn't look back at Jack's shattered expression. I knew that after tonight, the protagonist's legendary confidence was broken. And what's a hero without his plot armor and his swagger? Back in the car, I held the meteorite shard in my hand. It was warm to the touch, and a gentle energy flowed into my palm, spreading through my body. It felt incredible. Good stuff. I smiled. Are we returning to the penthouse, sir? Echo asked from the driver's seat. No. I shook my head. Take me to the Lancaster residence. Echo was momentarily surprised, but didn't question the order, immediately changing course. Half an hour later, the Rolls pulled up to the Lancaster mansion. The once imposing estate now looked neglected and bleak. The security guard saw my car and let us through without a word, his expression a mix of fear and pity. I walked straight into the living room. Robert, his wife Catherine, and Sophia were all slumped on the couch like deflated balloons. The moment they saw me, all three jumped to their feet. Robert looked terrified. Catherine looked venomous, and Sophia's face was a complex mess of humiliation and resentment. And Mr. Hayes, what are you doing here? Robert managed a smile that was more like a grimace, wringing his hands. I ignored him, walked over to the main armchair, and sat down, casually tossing the artifact box onto the coffee table. I'm here to discuss a business proposition, I said calmly. Robert blinked. Business? That's right. I crossed my legs. I want to buy Lancaster Industries. What? All three of them shouted at once. You wish. Catherine shrieked. Ethan, you've ruined our family. Isn't that enough? Now you want to swallow our company whole? In your dreams. This isn't a negotiation. My eyes went cold as I glanced at her. She flinched and fell silent. I turned back to Robert and held up one finger. $100 million. For 100% of the company's shares. And all of your family's assets. That's impossible, Robert yelled. Even now, my company is worth over $1 billion. This is highway robbery. Is it? I scoffed. Did you forget the $3 billion you owe the bank? And the $800 million you owe your suppliers? That's nearly $4 billion in debt. Tell me, Mr. Lancaster, is your company an asset or a liability? The color drained from Robert's face. I pressed on. Sell to me. You walk away with $100 million and get to live out your days in comfort. Refuse, and in 3 days, the banks and the courts will be at your door. You'll not only lose everything, but you'll be saddled with billions in personal debt. You'll spend the rest of your lives in prison. The choice is yours. My words landed like a sledgehammer. Robert collapsed onto the couch, his face ashen. He knew I wasn't bluffing. This wasn't a choice. It was an ultimatum. He couldn't form a sentence. Just then, Sophia, who had been silent this whole time, spoke up. We'll sell. She was biting her lip so hard it was about to bleed, her nails digging into her palms. She looked at me, her eyes bloodshot. Ethan, we'll sell it to you. But I have one condition. Oh, I looked at her intrigued. Go on. Sophia took a deep breath, as if summoning every last ounce of her strength. Then, slowly, she knelt before me. My condition is, please give me another chance. Please, take me back. The air in the room froze. Robert and Catherine stared at their daughter, who was kneeling on the floor in utter disbelief. Was this their daughter? The proud, untouchable Ice Queen? To get back with Ethan, she was kneeling? I looked down at Sophia, her body trembling slightly, my own expression unreadable. She looked up, her once beautiful face now a canvas of desperation and pleading. Tears streamed down her cheeks, a picture of tragic beauty. Ethan, I was wrong. I was so wrong, she sobbed. It was all my fault. I was blind. I didn't know how to appreciate you. You did so much for me, and I just hurt you again and again. Please, for the 3 years we had together, just give me one more chance. I swear, I'll do anything you want. I'll be completely devoted to you. She was crying her heart out, a sight that would make any other man melt. But I wasn't any other man. I just watched her like I was watching a bad actress in a cheap movie. You should have thought of this before. It's a little late to realize what you lost. I didn't say anything. I just picked up a glass of water from the table. Seeing that I hadn't immediately rejected her, a flicker of hope appeared in Sophia's eyes. She shuffled forward on her knees, getting closer, even reaching out to touch the leg of my pants. Ethan, if you agree, Lancaster Industries. No, our entire family will be yours to command. My father, my mother, me. We'll all do whatever you say. Robert and Catherine, though humiliated, said nothing. Their only hope was their daughter. They were willing to do anything to get back in the Hayes family's good graces, even if it meant becoming dogs. I finally took a sip of water and set the glass down. Are you finished? I asked quietly. Sophia nodded eagerly, her eyes wide with anticipation. I smiled, a big, bright, cheerful smile. Then I stood up, looking down on her from my full height. Miss Lancaster, you seem to be under a slight misapprehension. Did you really think that by kneeling and crying, I'd come running back to you like before? Did you think that by offering me your family's bankrupt company, I'd be impressed? My voice was soft, but each word was a slap across her face. The color drained from her cheeks, leaving them deathly pale. Let me tell you something, Sophia. I leaned down, my voice a demonic whisper in her ear. You and your entire family are not even qualified to be my dogs. The only reason I'm buying your company is because I enjoy watching you fall from grace. I enjoy watching you lose everything and grovel before me like pathetic, beaten animals. It's fun, don't you think? Sophia's body convulsed. She looked up at me, her eyes wide with horror, the last vestiges of hope extinguishing, replaced by pure, bottomless despair. She finally understood. The man in front of her was no longer her loyal simp. He was a monster she had unleashed from hell. As for you, I straightened up, giving her a look one might reserve for a piece of trash on the sidewalk. You want to come back to me? Phoenix, go over there and lick that trash can clean. If you do a good job, I'll think about it. What did you say? Sophia looked up, her pupils shrinking, as if she couldn't believe what she'd heard. Her face was a mask of shock and utter humiliation. Lick a trash can? Robert and Catherine were stunned. Catherine finally found her voice. Ethan, that's going too far. You're humiliating her. Humiliating? I laughed, then kicked the coffee table, sending glass and porcelain shattering across the floor. Damn right, I'm humiliating you. So what? My eyes blazed as I glared at the three of them. When you treated me like a dog, did you think about humiliation? When Sophia threw me away for another man, did she think about humiliation? Don't you dare talk to me about going too far. You people aren't worthy. My presence filled the room, a crushing weight that left them breathless. Robert and Catherine cowered, not daring to say another word. Sophia knelt on the floor, shaking like a leaf in a storm. Humiliation anger, regret. All of it swirled inside her, leaving behind only the ashes of despair. She looked at me, her eyes empty. She knew it was over. Watching her broken form, I felt nothing but boredom. You know what? I've lost interest. I pulled a prepared share transfer agreement from my jacket and tossed it in Robert's face. Sign it. The 100 million will be in your account tomorrow. Don't sign it, and you know the consequences. You have 10 minutes. Without another glance at them, I turned and walked out. Echo followed close behind. At the door, I paused without turning around. Oh, by the way, Sophia, as of today, you're fired. Sophia flinched. The fashion magazine she worked for was, of course, a subsidiary of the Hayes Corporation. I wasn't just taking her money. I was taking her future. I wanted her to know what true despair felt like. Leaving the Lancasters behind, I got in the car, feeling a sense of profound satisfaction. They'll sign, sir, Echo said. They have no choice, I replied, leaning back and closing my eyes. I toyed with the meteorite shard, feeling its strange energy seeping into me. It was an interesting sensation. Where to next, sir? I opened my eyes, a playful glint in them. To a place that will drive Jack Ryder completely insane. Find out where a girl named Clara Evans is right now. Clara Evans. In the novel, she was another one of Jack's love interests, his white moonlight, the one pure thing in his dark world. She ran an orphanage, was kind and innocent, and was the only light in his life. Jack's return to New York was, in large part, to find and protect her. According to the plot, in a few days, Jack would save Clara from a group of thugs trying to evict the orphanage, playing the hero and rekindling their old connection. The thugs were hired by some second-rate real estate developer who wanted the land. Such a classic scene. How could I possibly miss it? Echo, check who owns the property for the Sunshine House orphanage on the west side. Yes, sir. Echo was fast. In less than 5 minutes, she had an answer. Sir, the property belongs to Wagner Development. The owner, Rick Wagner, is planning to demolish the orphanage to build luxury condos. Perfect. I smiled. Get Wagner on the phone. Tell him I want that land. Tell him to name his price. If he's smart, we'll give him a fair deal. If he's not, I paused, a cold light in my eyes. Then make Wagner Development disappear from New York. In his office, Rick Wagner, a sleazy developer who'd made his fortune through intimidation and shady deals, was celebrating his latest acquisition with his mistress. He'd been trying to get his hands on the Sunshine House property for months, but the stubborn woman who ran the place refused to sell. He'd finally lost his patience and decided to send in a demolition crew the next day. His phone rang. He was about to ignore the unknown number, but something made him answer. Yeah, who is this? He grunted. A cold female voice came through the line. This is the office of Mr. Ethan Hayes of the Hayes Corporation. Mr. Hayes is interested in the Sunshine House property. Wagner's brain short-circuited. He almost dropped the phone. The Hayes Corporation? Ethan Hayes? The prince of the city? The man who had just dismantled the Lancaster family for sport? Why would he want a worthless piece of land on the west side? And Mr. Hayes' office? Wagner's voice instantly became sycophantic. Hello. Yes. How can I help, Mr. Hayes? Mr. Hayes wants the land, Echo stated flatly. Name your price. No. I wouldn't dare. I can't take Mr. Hayes' money. Wagner was sweating bullets. It would be my honor to give the property to Mr. Hayes. I'll have the deed delivered immediately. No charge. It's a gift. Take money from Ethan Hayes? He wasn't that stupid. He'd hand over his entire company if asked. Mr. Hayes doesn't like to take advantage of people, Echo said. The land is valued at $300 million. He is offering $500 million. Bring the paperwork to Hayes Tower tomorrow morning. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Thank you. Wagner was babbling, ecstatic. $500 million. That was more than double what he expected. After hanging up, Wagner felt like he was dreaming. He shoved his mistress aside and paced his office. Giddy. I'm rich. I'm finally rich. The next day, at the Sunshine House, Clara Evans watched the children playing in the yard, a gentle smile on her face, though her eyes were shadowed with worry. Wagner's men had given her a final notice yesterday. Be out by today, or they'd tear the place down. She had called everyone she could think of, the police, the media, but no one would help. She knew Wagner had the city in his pocket. Was this really the end of the only home these children had ever known? As she stood there, on the verge of tears, a fleet of black Mercedes sedans pulled up to the gate. Men in dark suits got out and formed two lines. Then, a handsome young man in casual but expensive clothes, radiating an aura of immense power, walked toward her. Clara stared. She had no idea who he was, but she knew he was important. Meanwhile, across the street, hiding in an alley, Jack Ryder watched the scene unfold, his heart pounding. He had finally found Clara last night, and when he learned about the orphanage's troubles, he planned to swoop in today like a conquering hero, crush Wagner's men, and win Clara's heart. But before he could make his move, Ethan Hayes had shown up. Again, it was always him. What did he want now? A terrible feeling of dread washed over Jack. He could only watch as I approached the girl he had sworn to protect with his life. I walked up to Clara, meeting her clear, cautious eyes with a warm smile. "You must be Clara Evans, the director here." She nodded, her voice nervous. "And you are?" "My name is Ethan Hayes," I said. "The land this orphanage sits on, as well as the surrounding properties, now belong to me." The color drained from Clara's face. She thought I was here to evict them. "Mr. Hayes," she began, her voice trembling but brave. "I know we're trespassing, but please, just give us a little more time. The children, I need to find them a new home." "You've misunderstood," I interrupted gently. "I didn't buy this land to kick you out. I bought it so you could stay." Clara froze. I continued, "Not only will I not demolish the orphanage, I'm going to invest in rebuilding it. New classrooms, new dorms, and new playground. The best teachers, the best resources. From now on, the Hayes Corporation will cover all of the Sunshine House's expenses." Clara was utterly stunned. This was too good to be true. Are you serious?" "Of course." I nodded. "I brought the contracts and the deed. You can see for yourself." Echo handed her a folder. With trembling hands, Clara opened it. When she saw the official seals and the clause stating the property was an unconditional, permanent donation, the tears she'd been holding back finally fell. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. On behalf of all the children, thank you." She was so overcome, she bowed deeply. "It's nothing. I help her up. I was an orphan myself. I know how hard it can be." It was a complete lie, of course, but a well-placed lie can build a bridge between two people. As I expected, Clara's expression instantly changed from gratitude to a deep, personal empathy. You were. It was a long time ago." I waved it off with a perfectly practiced, melancholic air. From his hiding spot, Jack watched, his fists clenched so tight they shook. His eyes were red with rage. Shameless. Absolutely shameless. He knew I was the heir to a corporate empire, and here I was, pretending to be an orphan to win Clara's sympathy. He wanted to charge out and expose me, but he couldn't. What did he have to fight me with? Money? Power? He had nothing. He could only watch as I effortlessly earned Clara's complete trust and admiration. He could only watch as she looked at me with a mixture of worship and affection, the very look he had dreamed of receiving from her. A metallic taste filled his mouth. He coughed, spitting a mouthful of blood onto the pavement. He was so overwhelmed with rage and despair he nearly passed out. His white moonlight, the purest person he knew, was being stolen by his greatest enemy using the most despicable means imaginable. I didn't leave right away. At Clara's invitation, I spent the afternoon touring the grounds and playing with the kids. I could feel Clara's gaze on me the entire time, her admiration growing by the minute. I could also feel Jack's presence nearby, his aura growing more and more unstable. I wanted him to watch. I wanted him to burn with jealousy until he went mad. I finally left as the sun began to set. Clara and the children waved goodbye from the gate. Even from a distance, I could see them in my rearview mirror. "Sir, it appears Jack Ryder is following us," Echo said calmly. I expected as much. I smirked. "Find an empty place and pull over." "Yes, sir." The car wound its way through the city's industrial district, finally stopping outside an abandoned factory. I got out, Echo on my side. A lone figure emerged from the shadows, stalking toward me, radiating an almost tangible aura of fury. It was Jack. "Ethan Hayes," he roared, his eyes bloodshot, like a cornered animal. "What the hell are you playing at?" "Playing? I held up my hands in mock innocence. I'm just a philanthropist doing a little good in the world. Bullshit, he yelled. What are your intentions with Clara? My intentions? I laughed. She's a beautiful, kind woman. I like her. I plan on asking her out. Is that direct enough for you? You wouldn't dare. Jack's killing intent spiked. Clara is mine. If you so much as touch a hair on her head, I will end you. Yours. I laughed as if it were the funniest joke I'd ever heard. Did she tell you that? Do you have a marriage license I don't know about? Or does every pretty girl in the world automatically belong to you just because you say so? You. Jack was speechless. He knew he had no claim on her. Give it up, Jack. That whole Secret King Returns act is getting old. My smile vanished, my expression turning to ice. In my world, you are nothing. Your strength? A joke. Your money? A bigger joke. Your secret identity. Well, that's not a secret anymore, is it? With every word, the color drained from Jack's face. By the time I finished, he was as pale as a ghost. You think you can hide in the shadows and take me down? I walked toward him, my own presence pressing down on him. Let me be clear. If I wanted you gone, there are 100 ways I could make you disappear without a trace. I'm only talking to you now to give you a warning. Stay away from Clara Evans. You won't get a second one. I turned to get back in the car. Stay right there. Enraged beyond reason, Jack exploded. He launched himself at me like a cannonball, his fist aimed at my back. You want to insult me? D. He put everything he had into that punch. It whistled through the air, powerful enough to kill a normal man. But his fist stopped dead, 6 inches from my spine. Echo was there. She had moved so fast she was a blur. She held up one slender hand and effortlessly blocked his all-out attack. Jack's eyes widened in shock. How is that possible? His punch felt like it had hit a steel wall. The force of the impact sent a numbing shockwave up his entire arm. Echo looked at him with something akin to pity. A firefly trying to outshine the moon. With a flick of her wrist, a sudden, sharp force erupted. Crack! A sickening crunch of bone breaking echoed in the silence. Jack screamed a raw, agonized sound as he was thrown backward like a rag doll. He landed in a heap, clutching his arm, which was now bent at an unnatural angle. I turned and looked down at him, a pathetic insect writhing on the ground. I told you, your strength is a joke. This was just a small lesson. Jack was drenched in a cold sweat, his face contorted in pain. He stared at his ruined arm, his eyes filled with horrified disbelief. He was the Reaper, and he had been disabled in a single move by a woman. What kind of monsters did Ethan Hayes have working for him? Now, I said, stepping forward and planting my foot on his chest, do you still think you're in a position to make demands? Jack coughed up another mouthful of blood. Who are you? Really, he rasped. Who I am doesn't matter. I pressed down, enjoying the sound of his ribs groaning in protest. What matters is that from now on, I run this city. You have 2 choices, get out or die. I removed my foot and walked back to the car without a second glance. The Rolls-Royce purred to life and sped away, leaving Jack alone on the cold concrete, drowning in a world of pain and darkness. In the car, Echo asked, Sir, are we just going to let him go? A hero with a broken arm and a broken spirit is no longer a threat, I said calmly. Killing him now would be a mercy. I want him to live. I want him to watch as I take everything he ever wanted. I want him to live forever in my shadow, drowning in regret, until the very end. That was the ending I planned for him. Echo nodded, a new level of awe and fear in her eyes. She was beginning to understand that the man she worked for was far more terrifying than she had ever imagined. In the following weeks, New York was mine. Lancaster Industries was absorbed for a pittance and rebranded as Capital, with Arthur at the helm. The Lancaster family took their $100 million and vanished. As for Sophia, I heard she stood outside my building for a day and a night before collapsing in a rainstorm. Not my problem. I focused my energy on the Sunshine House. With my money, a state-of-the-art facility, better than any private school, was built in just a few weeks. Clara's gratitude slowly blossomed into a deep and devoted affection. The protagonist's white moonlight was now mine. As for Jack, he disappeared. After our encounter, he vanished from the city. My sources told me he left the country, presumably returning to the Chimera to lick his wounds or gather his forces. I didn't care. Because yesterday, I had received some very interesting news. The Ryder family of Washington, D.C., the most powerful political dynasty in the country, had sent representatives to New York. They were looking for their long-lost heir, an heir by the name of Jack Ryder. That's right. In the novel's later chapters, it's revealed that Jack isn't just a mercenary king. He's the lost prince of America's most powerful family. Just when all seems lost, the Ryder family is supposed to show up and help him crush all his enemies. A shame, I mused, looking at the file on my desk, because I'll be taking that plot line to Echo. Sir, set up a meeting with the man the Ryder family sent. Tell him I have a lead on the person they're looking for. 3 days later, I met Marcus Ryder, Jack's uncle, in a most exclusive suite at the Pinnacle Club. He was an imposing man with the quiet authority of someone born to rule, but he was polite to me. Mr. Hayes, a pleasure, he said, extending a hand. The pleasure is all mine, Mr. Ryder, I replied, getting straight to the point. I believe you know why I asked you here. His eyes lit up. You have news of my nephew? I do, I said slowly. But first, I'd like to discuss something else. I heard the Ryder family has a marriage pact with the Sterlings. Marcus nodded. That's correct. An arrangement for my nephew and Victoria Sterling, the family's youngest daughter. I smiled. Victoria Sterling, another one of the book's heroines, the beautiful and influential daughter of A.D.C. Power broker. What a coincidence, I said, setting my glass down. I've taken an interest in Miss Sterling myself. Marcus's friendly demeanor vanished. Mr. Hayes, what are you implying? Don't be offended, I said smoothly. It's just that your nephew is missing, possibly dead. It seems cruel to make a lovely young woman like Miss Sterling wait. He seethed. I pressed on, and from what I've heard, your nephew has a rather aggressive personality. He's a man of action, isn't he? I emphasized the last few words. Marcus's eyes narrowed. What do you know? Far more than you think, I said, leaning forward. I know he's the leader of a mercenary group called the Chimera. Codename Reaper. I know he has blood on his hands and answers to no one. I know he came back to this country looking for revenge, ready to start a war. Tell me, Mr. Ryder, I finished, my voice low, is that the kind of man you want leading your family? An uncontrollable kingmaker who could bring ruin to everything you've built. Every word was a hammer blow. Marcus was silent, his face grim. He knew I was right. He wanted a leader, not a wrecking ball. Finally, he looked at me, his eyes searching mine. What is it you want, Mr. Hayes? I want to help you, I said, my smile turning predatory. I can help you take care of your nephew problem. I can help you become the head of the Ryder family. And in return, all I want is your family's political backing. And Victoria Sterling. Marcus left without giving me an answer, but I saw the ambition in his eyes. I had planted the seed. A month later, news broke that the Chimera had been ambushed and destroyed by a mysterious coalition of forces. Their leader, Reaper, was critically wounded and missing. It was my work, of course, in partnership with Marcus Ryder. We had severed Jack's last lifeline. Another month passed. The head of the Ryder family fell gravely ill. Marcus took his place. The family also announced their alliance with the Sterlings through marriage. The groom was not Jack Ryder. It was me. I stood on the balcony of my penthouse, looking out over the city lights. The novel's plot was a distant memory. The Ice Queen was broken. The Chosen One was a fugitive. And I, the disposable side character, now stood at the top of the world. What are you thinking about? Clara's soft voice asked as she wrapped her arms around me from behind. I was just thinking, I said, turning to kiss her, how interesting this world has become. My story was just beginning, and the heroes of the old world were nothing but dust beneath my feet. End.